Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to EITN Unplugged. I'm Catherine from Enterprise IT News. Today I'm joined by Travis, co-founder and executive director of Adzymic. Travis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here and looking forward for our conversation.
Okay, it's a pleasure to have you. So the advertising technology industry has evolved tremendously over the last decade. We've seen the rise of data-driven marketing, automation, AI, and now the emergence of agentic AI, which is redefining what's possible for marketers and brands. Today, we'll talk about your journey, how advertising technology has transformed over the years, and where you see the future is heading. So, my first question for you is you've spent more than a decade, right, building businesses and
Yeah,
innovating in the advertising technology space, advertising technology or AdTech space. So, to kick things off, could you briefly share your career journey over the years and what inspired you to found Adzymic?
thanks for the first question. First of all, yeah, I'm actually start my career in the IT industry, B2B, focus a lot with the marketing. I was with SAP for spent probably around 7, 8 years there. I moved to China and came back. I'm actually managing the media business in terms
Mm,
of managing campaigns, working with agencies, and then I co-found company Adzymic
yeah.
7 years ago. Yeah, so that's how I started my entrepreneur journey
Mm.
back then 7 years ago.
During your time with B2B technology brands like SAP, you must have seen many things in the industry. And throughout that journey, were there recurring challenges or pain points that you kept seeing in the industry that made you think, is there a better way?
Yes, that's exactly why I started Adzymic. Is really to see that there's actually a lot of challenges in terms of creative and media. There's disconnect between media buying and creative production. Every time when we want to launch a campaign, it's always take 1 or 2 months to get the creative ready and the media plan, and a lot of time it doesn't really help match what's being asked for.
Mm,
And every time there's like another campaign's coming and another creative production get in place. So and that's kind of get me frustrated that say, is there a better way to do things? During that time, I started to build a MVP to with this how the start of Adzymic, which is really an MVP that able to streamline some of the creative production by having some templates that is
mm,
following the brand guidelines and easy churning of the creative and then generate those formats that can be used from awareness to demand gen and across. So that's how we started back
mm,
then 7, 8 years ago. And I met my co-founder who feel that okay, having a shared pain point, and
mm,
then we start okay, let's start something, and probably that's the better way to do it. Then the market have seen a similar problems, and our creative solutions has been widely used by quite a numbers of marketers and agencies as well.
mm.
And also throughout the journey, we also kind of pivot or kind of expand our portfolio towards other different solutions, and that helped to continue to kind of innovate into this media space.
Mm.
Yeah.
Travis, we actually talked about this before, and I remember at that time you said there was just a disconnect between media and media buying. And
Yeah.
but what was the main challenge at that time that you wanted to solve? That was like really like wow, you had to just, you wanted to have an answer to or a solution to immediately. Was there something like that for
Uh,
you?
I think one of the biggest challenges is the delay in a lot of campaigns in terms of because of lack of creative. And because at the same time, let's say take for example the B2B companies, right? They have different persona of audiences they want to target. And then, for example, they may looking at the different industry or different segments or audiences. But at the same time, if you're looking at having that personalization across all these different audiences, you need to have different messaging, you need to have different creative, you need to have different formats, different way of engaging them, understanding where their behavior coming from.
Mm,
All these data signals doesn't really necessarily transform into actionable creating messaging for the marketers. This whole kind of process of personalization and creative is something that we back then I want to solve. And we managed to solve many of those. And of course, now we're talking a lot about AI, agentic, that make this whole process much easier in that sense. But back then, if you're talking about 6, 7 years ago, it's still a very manual process back then. And having a solution like us really helps to streamline a lot of those processes. And that's really something that we feel is still continue to be challenging for marketers, but I feel that, I mean, with the tech evolving and transformed drastically for the past few years, things are really looking on good way, and I believe that I still continue to innovate in this space.
So it sounds like media buying sounds like something which is easy, but actually it's not.
Back then, I mean, if you're looking at a step back, there's actually a lot of planning involved. So, for example, you need to understand the persona of your audiences. You need to understand the pain point, and you come up with the right messaging, and how you can have different messaging for different audiences, and you can scale it without adding to the cost. And also the campaigns result coming back, how do you feed that back to the platform or the system you're running on? Especially now, if you're just running on one channel, that's totally fine. But if you're looking at the omni-channel strategy, whereby you have just LinkedIn, you have all the different premium publishers, you're doing some content syndication, if you're running, for example, digital home as well. So all these different kind of, and of course, events, same thing, right? So all this is actually part of whole marketing funnel. And then how do you have a unified messaging with differentiation and personalization across all these channels? You really need not just one platform, but also a suite of solutions that can kind of talking to each other or having that integration workflow across all these different channels. So that's important for marketers as well. So I mean, throughout the industry, there's all these different tools available, from data management platform, and then you talk about DMP, CDP, and all these different activations and privacy in place. So all this actually is added complexity as the marketers. At the same time, if you need to answer to the bots, right? So how is my marketing perform? Does it generate enough leads? Does it perform well? And all this. So and I'm talking about B2B. So all this actually come into play. So marketers is not just one. So sometimes we feel that a lot of time in a boardroom, C-suite don't really understand what does marketers do, right? I feel that especially in B2B, it's answerable to the board to say, let's sales, how many leads have you generated and things like that. So I feel that it's a path for marketers, because there's so many things that one need to do. So that is, I think, the challenge part.
Yeah. Thank you for laying all of that out. It's like from here to here is a wide spectrum. And then if I understand correctly also about the marketing industry, it's like the time to results is getting shorter and shorter. So it's like something like AI technology, and now agentic AI is very useful for what you want to achieve. Yeah. It's interesting how many successful companies begin by solving a very specific problem that seemed easy, but actually it wasn't, especially after your explanation, Travis. Right. And speaking of change, AdTech itself has transformed dramatically over the years. So from your perspective, how have AdTech trends evolved over the years? And as those trends continue to shift, what do today's solutions need to become in order to stay relevant and continue delivering value?
I start my marketing journey, I think, more than 10, 15 years ago. Definitely, we see a lot of evolution from AdTech perspective, from social, mobile, and then programmatic. When we first started Adzymic, back then 7, 8 years ago, programmatic is actually one of the key trends AdTech is going into. You have the demand side platform, you have the supply side platform. In fact, SAP wants to launch a buy side platform. I'm part of that as well. But at the same time, a lot of these companies start to change throughout the years, because there's privacy challenges in that sense. There's also shifting in terms of how people perceive AdTech, right? And also in terms of how all these different data signals come into play. But what I see is that AdTech is still continues to evolve. It helps in terms of workflow. So just now I mentioned about the buy side, the sales side. There's this whole in between brand safety and across all this. how the innovation is shifting is really into how does all these companies continue to add value to clients, right, to advertisers, in the sense of ROI, in the sense of measurements. It's not just about the last click attribution, it's not just about the last mouse attribution, but how does a campaign or digital home or events have influence in the brand, and also from the brand to considerations and to the conversion side. So it's actually the full marketing cycle that AdTech is looking into to capture the value across all these different spectrum. At the same time, also looking at the funnel, right? That means that awareness to consideration, but also the channels, right? From usually it's a digital standard display, and then now a few years ago, actually digital home is also one of the key channels that AdTech is looking into. And now with this whole shift into AI or agentic, right, the omni-channel play is going to be more important because so all this shift is actually happening. And yeah, I'm pretty excited that how all this is evolving. But I think overall in the industry, it needs to be simplified because I think there's too much jargon. But I think both is still about how to change perception of consumers, how to demand gen and across all this.
Do you find that because of agentic AI, right, and it's like it seems to be achieving very miraculous results in terms of like the output? I, for example, saw advertisement materials that were generated by AI, so it's like it seems very wondrous and very miraculous, and then things are going faster as well. So do you find that maybe expectations from the industry has changed or become a whole lot more than before, or and maybe to the point of being even unrealistic? What are your
Yeah,
opinions or your observations?
I probably think of the step back to look at agentic, right? I mean, AI has been around for many years back then, but I think only back in 2023 when ChatGPT launched, then it started to accelerate. And I think the main reasons is that I think people start to see the value AI able to create from a business transformation perspective. It's actually a transformation. So, and it's actually affecting all industries. It's affecting all industries, all functions, right? So, for example, if looking at as a company, Adzymic is, we are still a very lean companies. We have probably 5 to 6 tech person. AI actually helps to accelerate a lot of our tech capabilities. Previously, we can't do, but because AI, we can accelerate. We can start to return some of the tech debt that we have accumulated for the past few years because of AI. Now we're able to kind of revamp our UI. We can start to look into some of the APIs and connections and all that. And if you see that there's actually thousands of companies like Adzymic having the same kind of acceleration coming on, then it's actually a transformation for a lot of business that are selling into us. The same thing for if you're looking at now, people are talking about vibe coding few months ago, or even now, right? They are potentially replacing their own CRM system. So all these tools and start to come in. What we are seeing a lot is that is the new era of customization and personalization of how AI can come in. For Adzymic, for us, we come in from a creative standpoint, right? But I mean, internally, there's all these different processes and all that. Basically, I can create a software that is just customized to my workflow. And then that's how what the enterprise start to think about then how should a companies add value in terms of this workflow. If, let's say, SaaS become a model that can need to be fixed. So what is next, right? How do you create value along this whole ecosystem? And that's something that has been what we see a lot of companies start to do is really about agent to agent communication. Basically, how do you connect different kind of agentic solutions together? How do you work with in the network economy, right? So that is whole shift in terms of agentics come into play. It's just not about one agent, right? But also about how do you have multiple network of effect that you have that mode to continue to stay in the game and contribute to add value to the ecosystem. Yeah.
So one of the biggest shifts we have all witnessed recently is agentic AI, and you just You just shared your opinion and your views as well about how you're seeing the industry shifting. You mentioned agentic AI has advanced rapidly over the past year, and it has enabled Adzymic to significantly leapfrog both its solution offerings and capabilities. What do you think has contributed to the accelerated development of agentic AI, and how has that influenced the way that Adzymic innovates?
Maybe I'll talk about the transformation journey that we have. That was probably early last year. We start to think about with all these different um innovation acceleration of LLM models coming in, right? It's only sooner of time that they have a capability to create certain things that we are not able to do so. So we start to talk about how, first of all, it's very internal, right? So how does this whole AI impact the tech, the operation, the sales? More kind of internal, right? And then the second is the external, right? How the AI will dictate the offerings that we have. So for internal, it's really about understanding that the model is going to have impact, is coming out real fast, and we're using a lot of models to start to say that the basically first of all is the tech software engineers no longer code. That is first thing, is that they have to be using coding agents to prompt and generate and create, and okay, what they need is really to orchestrate, to understand what they have to review, to architect the whole workflow process. Because previously they have been the one really code, but now instead of coding, they need to guide agents how to code, right? So that is actually a big change for them.
Yeah.
And then also to kind of resolve all these different dependency across all these different agents and things like that. So that's one key change internally. And then the other one is also how to build tools that we have. So earlier this year, we actually kind of had this, we call it AI challenge for our internal team. Each of them actually need to come up with the AI solutions that they either vibe coded or they just created and present it in our offsite. So everybody have to present something.
Yeah.
It's a very useful initiative because that they start to come up with very interesting. For example, able to do screen recording, able to come up with like creating mock-ups for clients and all that. So during that time, we actually the MVP of our agentic creative agents come up from that exercise actually.
Wow.
So yes, it's actually by one of our engineer. We just adopt it and then launch it as one of our flagship products, because we also want to transform. Basically, I mean, we actually hire one kind of like an intern join us back then last year October, because he came without any kind of background of like the traditional software engineer, so he's
Oh.
really like kind of AI native engineer. He came
Oh.
in and kind of like streamline and build the first kind of framework that we have, kind of like set up the first base that we have, and from there our tech team kind of built on top of this, and then augment the additional different workflow agentic stuff can come in. So and also at the same time, the third one is there's this agentic protocol start to being defined by a group of companies
Yeah.
to say that, hey, there's this with all these agents start to be created by different companies. So how do they communicate with one another,
Yeah.
right? So that's how this SCP, which stands for Ad Context Protocol, come in to really kind of define protocols whereby agents can communicate with another agents for the whole advertising media buying execution.
To me, when you're describing all of this, I'm thinking it's a perfect storm of many different things. One, agentic AI became so advanced to the point that your IT team, your developer team, they found themselves being more productive and streaming their effort and time into more value-added stuff, more value-added,
Yeah,
like
yes.
the white coding and like white coding initiatives, whereby you actually discovered very good ideas that you could transition into a flagship product, right? It was
Yeah,
as a
yeah, yes.
it was a result of agentic AI, helping out with the time. And then also of course the agentic protocol. It just so happened the industry also got itself together and said it observed something that was happening and wanted to leverage that, take advantage of that, and kind of like, if I understand correctly, it created standards.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, yes.
yeah.
Yes. It's still evolving, it's still changing. Even back, let's say 6 months ago, right, when we start the journey or all this, it's still really unclear where this whole agentic is going to be, and all this. Even right now, right, it's still a lot of learnings and understanding how the protocol evolve, the adoptions and all that. So it's not like, oh, it's done deal and let's celebrate and things like that. So it's still continue to evolve as well. Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point, which is like, of course, with every major technological advancement comes an equally important conversation around responsibility. As agentic AI becomes more widely adopted across advertising, marketing, what more can the industry, including technology providers, standards bodies, and policymakers do to ensure the innovation continues to thrive while remaining safe, transparent, secure? What's your opinion
Yeah.
about this?
First of all, is that the SCP protocol or the protocol that come out, right? Or even there's actually IAB, which stands for Internet Advertising Bureau, also come their own protocol. All these protocol kind of standardize like how agents communicate each other. It actually already have certain form of governance, guardrails in place and all that. So that's really helps because actually industries start to come together to say, hey, for agents to communicate, these are the things to look out for, these standards to be used and things like that. And that's exactly why protocols is important. Of course, if you are building a proprietary own agents and all that, you can have your own governance in place, the guardrails. That's preventing AI from hallucinations and things like that. There's actually a saying, power of model, right? LLM is actually just one part of the equation. There's this whole context engineering skills, harnessing all these different guardrails and all these things are as important as the model itself. If your model is not the most advanced one, you can still use a lot of this context and all this to have a good result. But if you have a very strong model, but you don't have a good context or good prompts and all these things, then the result will be very different or will not be as good as one with a good guardrails and all that in place. But you still need both to act together, right? So, and I think it's require a lot of test and learn from the different players, a lot of pilots, a lot of trial. But at the same time, right, as we understand more about how to do evaluations of model, how do you compare the results and then have maybe a quality check and all these things. So all this process in place start to form a playbook, start to form a best practices, right? Then this will create a good kind of playbook for the industry to follow. I think the playbook is still in formation, it's still creating in process, but I think the industry is getting there, I must say. Yeah.
So we've talked about the past, the present, and where the industry is heading. You mentioned the playbook. So I'd like to end on a more personal note. Like, Travis, so looking back on your journey and everything you've experienced building at Adzymic, if there was one thing you could do differently, what would it be and why?
Okay. Let me think. I will not do anything differently. I think everything happened for a reason, I guess.
Okay, good, very
Because
zen.
if I change something, it will have a ripple effect. But I think what I will do maybe I will start earlier. I don't know. Maybe I will start 5 years
Yeah.
earlier, but who knows, right? But I mean, there are some hiring that I should not hire, or there's some hire I should hire faster and things like that. But all this is,
Skills.
I should say, just part and parcel of building a business lah. And yeah, so I guess where Adzymic is now, I'm pretty happy in that sense. And look forward to more stuff that we're going to build for the next few months, next few years, and just continue to the industry continue to evolve. We hope to continue to add value to the whole industry ecosystem. I think that's something that I feel is going to be continue to be transformation in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you feel Adzymic is exactly where it's supposed to be now, and it's basically poised to grow because it's got an exciting future ahead of it because and it seems as though you've got your work cut out for you. You're looking ahead, and the path is very clear for Adzymic right now.
I actually I always have this positivity, but also a bit kind of reserve
Mm,
positivity in that sense. I
mm,
think we just first of all, it's really about de-risking a lot of our bets, right? So that means that yes, we looking at future, that's how that future goes, but we still know that we have a bread butter of revenue that we need to go after,
mm,
right? A lot of agentic stuff.
mm.
So it's kind of like we place a bet there, but doesn't mean that we show hand and place all our bet there. We stop doing what we've been
Uh,
doing.
uh,
So I think it's still kind of balanced out in that
mm,
sense.
mm.
And because for us we have been doing this for the past 8 years
Mm,
now, and to a AdTech innovation company sounds well, it takes a long journey, but because every 1 2 years we kind of relook into our offerings and change, and it doesn't sound like a very kind of I don't know like traditional AdTech companies, right? Is something that we will continue to evolve as well.
mm.
Yeah, and I think definitely it's positive in the future. But I think for us, we always will want to reflect in terms of what we can do better
Okay.
ourselves. Yeah.
All right. At Zymic, 8 years and going strong. So, Travis, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing both your personal and your insights into the future of AdTech and agentic AI in your industry. It's been fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
I'm sure our audience has gained valuable perspectives on how innovation, responsibility, technology continues to shape the industry.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
thank you, Travis, and to everyone also for listening in.